Hi, my name is Angela D'Souza, and today I will be presenting to you why the concept of brain death is valid as a definition of death, written by the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. First, the Pontifical Academy of Sciences wrote this article in 2008. The publication also includes a response to the objections written by Professor Spemann and Dr. Schumann. The goal of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences is to always take into consideration the moral, ethical, and spiritual aspects of a person's life, and then to teach accordingly to the verdict of each of those aspects. This article was written to give a detailed definition of the word brain death, and then to provide an explanation of the word as well. They believe that everyone must come to an equal understanding of this term. My thesis. The Catholic Church strongly believes that the term brain dead implies the physical, sensory, cognitive, spiritual, and irreversible death of personhood. They encourage that everyone come to an equal understanding of this term. First, the physical effects of a brain dead person. To be clear, coma, persistent vegetative state, and minimally conscious state are not the same thing as brain death. If a person is not clinically pronounced brain dead, they are not, and we should not treat them as such. The cause of brain death is pressure and swelling within the brain, causing it to no longer function. As the brain swells, it dies, causing the end result of individual death. Brain death is the death of brain cells that are needed to keep someone alive without artificial means. Not all cells in the brain, however, must be dead for brain death to occur. It is irreversible even with the use of medical support systems. Artificial means simply slow down the inevitable death of a person. There is no such thing as recovering or overcoming brain death. Artificial means make for an artificial life. People often misunderstand brain death because it cannot be seen physically, such as a beating heart. Removing ventilation from a brain dead patient will not make them any less brain dead. It will also cause the organs to fail and the patient to die. The sensory and cognitive effects of a brain dead person. Brain dead patients have lost all the use of their senses. Reflex tests and other tests are performed on the patient to determine their brain death. They can no longer experience any type of pain. They also can't express any type of emotion. People in a vegetative state are different from those that have been pronounced brain dead because they still have substantial brain function and can still feel and sense things. It is still, in some rare cases, for a mother to carry her child to full term with the use of machines, even after being pronounced brain dead. A brain dead patient is also not able to make decisions. Intelligence depends on a functioning brain and the neurons within it. Because intelligence depends on a functioning brain and the neurons within it, when both of these things are gone, the person ceases to exist. Next, the spiritual effects of a brain dead person. A soul is necessary for personhood. The body depends on the soul. The soul does not depend on the body. All the parts are needed to make an organism complete. This includes the soul. So if either of these parts are missing, including the soul, then the organism is dead. St. Augustine agrees and says in essence that when the brain ceases to operate, the soul has also gone away. The organs may continue to function, but when one is clinically pronounced brain dead, the soul has already left the body. The soul of a person should always outrank their level of consciousness. The mind is not equivalent to personhood, and when the function of the brain is gone, the soul is also removed. Next, the irreversible effects of a brain dead person. Consciousness, apnea, and reflex tests should be performed to make sure that the neurons of the brain are dead. Being pronounced brain dead is more certain than being pronounced dead by loss of heart activity. Ventilating a brain dead patient will not make them any less brain dead. On the other hand, people in a vegetative state show brain functions on clinical tests performed and could potentially recover. Unlike machines that are used to help keep other organs alive, there is no machine to take the place of a brain. Organ failure will eventually follow brain death. Next, the oppositions of Professor Spemann and Dr. Schumann. In response to why the concept of brain death is valid as a definition of death, Professor Spemann and Dr. Schumann wrote an article expressing their opposing views from a physiological perspective. Aristotle said that we ought to be grateful not only for those whose views we share, but for those whose views express different opinions because they too have contributed to the stimulation of reflection. In this article, both agree on certain aspects. These include brain death does not imply recovery. The organs will eventually begin to fail due to brain death. The organs may be kept alive for a short period of time, but will never function to full capacity again. And psychological decapitation should not be used for a brain-dead patient. The major opposing arguments and responses. Dr. Schumann states that an organ can potentially function for an extended period of time after a patient is pronounced brain-dead. This is true, but the organs can never function together or to their full capacity ever again. He also argues that a persistent vegetative state is a synonym for brain death. This is not true. A patient in a persistent vegetative state is unlikely to die and will perform well on functional testing. The Pontifical Academy of Sciences argues that intelligence depends on the brain as its center of all other systems, including physical, biological, and psychological. With all of these things being true, there is no debate about the soul being departed from the body, because all of the parts of the body are equally essential to the organism as a whole. The body without a functioning brain is no longer alive. Therefore, the soul has also departed. He also suggests that brain dead is superficial and fragile. As many countries and neurologists would agree, this is no way to label such a serious topic, and in no way should be put down in any condescending form. Contradictions between the modern world and Catholic teaching. With modern technologies, there should be no confusion on whether or not the brain is truly dead, regardless of the situation. Most contradictions made involving the definition of brain death stem from misinterpreted information. The main reason the modern world contradicts what the Catholic Church teaches is because society has a difficult time accepting and understanding the relatively new definition. It is both the neurological community's and the Catholic Church's responsibility to inform the public about any discoveries made in the field of brain death and its definition. The relationship to diocesan curriculum. As people are made in the image and likeness of God, we should respect the dignity of all human life. Therefore, a person who is not clinically pronounced brain dead is not and should not be treated as such. Also, the family is the basic unit of society and has a duty to determine situations to be constructive or destructive. Relatives of a brain-dead patient should be told the only thing making their family member look alive is the artificial machines, and it is their responsibility to disconnect the machines because the soul has already departed the body. Brain death should not be a term used for organ transplants. If a person, however, has been clinically pronounced brain dead, organ transplants is not a form of murder. The relevance to today. The teachings presented in this article are particularly important to the modern healthcare community, most especially neurologists. The publication also highlights the importance of an equal understanding of the definition of brain dead. In addition, it is imperative for everyone to understand and accept not only this definition, but all definitions regarding controversial topics. Finally, the magisterium of the Catholic Church seeks to find what God has set out for us through his gift of life. The Pontifical Academy of Sciences and I hope that you find this article useful in helping clarify the questions of human life.